Happy Sunday. Happy race day. I hope you brought your coffee. I think Darrell thought about renaming this at one point in time to Coffee and NASCAR with Becca. I think he did. Since it seems like I'm always drinking coffee on the show. Coffee, camo, and NASCAR. I might have to rethink this. I don't know if my husband would be too happy though. Since like Monster Minutes has been kind of like the theme for 8 seasons now. Coffee, camo, and coffee, camo, and NASCAR. I'll have to think about that one. Anyway, happy Sunday, everyone. We had Phoenix, and normally Phoenix doesn't have craziness, but we came with 2 tire options, and it definitely brought some wide variety into the mixture. So with the tire options, you have the softer tires that are red, the regular tires that are yellow, and you cannot mix and match. You must have a total set of reds, or you must have a total set of yellows on at all times. So you can't have too soft on the front and too regular on the back, or vice versa. That was the NASCAR rule for this go round, and has been since they introduced the softer tire. And we definitely saw how that played a factor with Phoenix. But again, with the softer tire, we also saw how it plays a factor where you go about 40 or so laps, maybe a little bit more, and then you're done. Your lap times, not laptops, drastically fall off. Not just a little, but drastically, because you've used your tire up completely. So most everyone, I'm saying most, not all, you waited until the very end for them to use the softer option tires. At one point, we had the entire top 15, I want to say, or 15 to 17 drivers all on the option tire. So pretty much there was no passing one another because everyone was on the option tire. We were just like, okay, can we have some variety here now, please? I need a little bit of variety in my life because every one of you is on the option tire. And every one of you is like just as fast as the other at this point. You might have a different, manufacturer, but for a car, but you're kind of all stuck because you're all on option tire. And it made for the battling to not be, when everybody was on it, it seemed like not to be as fun, or at least in my opinion. But we also saw something that we haven't seen in a while. A Penske motor blow. We haven't seen a Roger Penske motor go, which was interesting. At least to me, most of the time, we hardly ever see these anymore where you have a driver saying, hey, the motor's blowing. Very rarely anymore. I know we had several last year where there was an issue with Joe Gibbs and their engine's blowing. But it has been quite some time since a Penske one has blown. So that got me wondering. I'm sure they took that back to the shop and was like, what's going on here? Trying to diagnose that issue. We also, and it wasn't hot, warm, but not hot. We also had some brake rotors come off and explode. Now, we do see that at certain tracks, but we haven't heard of that happening at Phoenix before. So another thing that made me go, completely eye-catching to make me go, do we need to go back to the drawing board on something? Because what? Or did somebody just not get something that they were supposed to get tightened? We had our first female since 20 in like 7 years make her debut. She finished 30th. Catherine Legg. I give her props for going out and giving it a whirl. I do. I think she needed some additional time behind a cup car. Before she got out there. Personally. She didn't do horrible. But she didn't do amazing either. You know, sim racing can get you so far. We've seen how well William Byron has done. But it can also hinder you to a point because you are on track with 30 plus other drivers. And so I think had she had more practice with the additional drivers, it might have made a difference to an extent. But hats off to her for giving it a whirl, even being willing to step outside of her comfort zone and buckle those belts tight and go for that ride. Not everybody's willing to do that. So again, hats off to her. And we'll see what comes of that in the future if she decides to come back again. I don't know. But I don't know. What were your thoughts on Catherine Legg? And how do you think she did overall? I'm going to give her an okay. Just an okay. So stage 1, William Byron won. Stage 2, Christopher Bell. And then we had a battle to the end in stage 3 and a 2-lap shoot-off because there was an accident. We didn't get overtime, but we did have a 2-lap shootout. And Christopher Bell would come out and do a 3 in a row when he now has 3 back-to-back wins. And so he won Atlanta, Coda, and now Phoenix. He just did beat out his teammate Denny Hamlin. But it did make for a really good show at the very end. Very, very good. I gotta hand it to him. The ending was a really good show. I have to say. So top 10 was Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, Josh Berry. Top 5 for the Wood Brothers. Great job, Josh. Chris Buescher, William Byron, Alex Bowman, Kyle Busch. That's another good run for Kyle Busch. Zane Smith, Chase Elliott were your top 10. We did have 10 caution flags, 73 laps, and 17 lead changes among 6 drivers. It was just insane what happened, especially there at the end. That sent us in that 2-lap shootout. So I think as well, this has possibly opened, and NASCAR did announce that there has been a rule change again to the provisional Cup series. Again, fans talk about consistency all the time. It seems like, why do we change rules when it fits us? I don't know. But there was there's an approval process to be able to race if you aren't already racing, basically. Catherine went through this approval process, and they approved one driver for Daytona initially, and then told that driver they couldn't. They came back and said, no, you don't have enough credentials, quote unquote. So after, the spins that Catherine had at Phoenix, it raised some questions about this approval process, saying, it's put them in a difficult situation for their debut. Catherine did damage with Daniel Suarez's car. And Helio, I think I said it right, was collected in the qualifying crash in Daytona back in February. So, this has not been something that hasn't gained attention before. They denied the approval. They had initially gave approval and then retracted approval for Mike Wallace, who had 197 career Cup starts to run the Daytona 500, because he last raced in the series in 2015. Okay. However, we are approving Helio, who is a 4-time Indianapolis 500 winner with no Xfinity, no NASCAR truck or Cup Series experience. The same is true for Catherine. She's raced in Xfinity and IMSA for years, but has only had one Xfinity start since 2019 and was approved. Casey Mears is coming back in Martinsville with Project 66, I believe, who has 489 Cup starts in Martinsville. And it will be his first event since 2019. So I guess I'm with some of the Cup drivers. Can you tell me again why we approved Mike Wallace initially and then retracted it? If we are now approving Casey Mears to race when both of them have Cup driving experiences. One almost 200 races, one, almost 500 races, but still. There needs to be, and I think Joey said it great, where's the structure of this approval process? Where is the transparency in this approval process? I'm all for introducing new people to our sport. Our sport has to grow in order to continue to succeed. But to give approval back in February to one driver and then yank it saying, hey, sorry, we're not going to keep this approval anymore. We're going to give it to somebody else that drove Indy. I just, that kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Or at least it would mine. So I guess we'll just have to see, and I also understand there has to be flexibility there too. Because every situation is going to be different. But some kind of structure needs to happen with some flexibility built into that structure to some degree. But at least so when people are reaching out and saying, hey, do you want to do this? They know what they're getting into. It's just one, some of these drivers they're great at what they've done. And again, like I said, introducing them to our sport is fabulous. Just like having Kyle Larson go to the Indianapolis 500 and doing the double. Again, that's fabulous. But, Kyle Larson also does how many other things all year round to race. There's gotta be some balance to ensure that people are gonna be able to handle being on a track with other people. We'll use SVG as an example. He's used to driving on a track with quite a few other drivers, first of all. And he put on an amazing show when he came on with Trackhouse the first time and did the road course race in Chicago. He literally put on a show. He showed up every one of our drivers and did an amazing job doing it. Amazing. He's currently active, or had just recently been active, in something similar, maybe a little lighter, but something similar. But just because you're an Indy champion, and there's nothing wrong with Indy racing, I've watched it, I enjoy it too. I think it's fun as well. Doesn't mean that your talents, have we not learned anything from Danica, can cross over to NASCAR very well. And no offense to Danica. I applaud what she tried to do, but I was also thankful to see her get off the track. I'm just going to be honest. No offense. Seriously. Anyway, we head to Phoenix. From Phoenix, to Las Vegas. And thank goodness, because it is probably going to be a mess in here on the East Coast. They've been calling for some really nasty storms. And the last couple days up and down the East Coast. So it's probably a really good thing that they're on the other side of the world, it seems like. The race will begin shortly after 3:30. Garage opens at 12:30. Driver's meeting is at 2:30. Driver's introductions 2:55. We are going 267 laps on the 1.5 mile oval. Stage 1 ends at lap 80, 2 at 165. We are on FS1 again this week. If you need to listen to it, PRN or SiriusXM, if you have that subscription, channel 90, it is programmed in the car. Thank you for me. It is. I love it. It is supposed to be another beautiful day for racing. 72 degrees. It is going to be a little windy. 10 to 15 mile an hour winds. But it's only supposed to be around 62 when the race starts. So that's a little chilly, but still a wonderful race weather. Or at least in my opinion. I would rather be a little cool, because that way I can stand up and yell and scream for whoever I'm cheering for at the time. Then, be burning up hot. So we do have an interesting paint scheme. For those of us who are millennials, or, older millennials, I should say, we have a Backstreet Boys car this week. John Hunter Nemechek is rocking that car. I can't wait to see what that car is gonna look like on the screen. I'm still thrown off about that. Like, my childhood is totally coming back to life for some reason. I don't understand it. So I really don't. Anyway, today's lineup is Michael McDowell, Joey Logano, Austin Cindric, Kyle Busch. Whew, I've been saying his name a lot here lately. He's ready to win. He really is. Eric Jones, Alex Bowman, Josh Berry, William Byron, Zane Smith, and Kyle Larson. We do have 36 cars. Ryan Blaney is starting last. He had an issue with a blown tire. So he has repairs. Christopher Bell will be going to the rear due to a throttle body change. John Hunter Nemechek is going to the rear due to a throttle body change as well. As of right now, that's all we have. That list could change here between now and when the race is set to start. So happy Sunday, happy race day. I don't know who's going to go gambling in Vegas, but I guess we're going to have to see. And I will see you again next week. Bye, y'all.